NBA players that will be traded before the February 9th NBA trade deadline. Number 1, Rui Hachimura. The reason that I'm putting Rui Hachimura at the first spot is because the Washington Wizards have already engaged in trade talks for him. The Wizards are 19-26 right now. They're probably going to miss the playoffs. It looks like they might be trying to blow up the whole team and rebuild, and they're starting off with Rui Hachimura, who is a versatile wing player. And I personally am pretty high on Rui, so I think he could actually go and help a team, whether it's a contender or a team trying to rebuild. I think Rui could be helpful somewhere. I have Rui Hachimura going to the Phoenix Suns for Damian Lee and draft picks. Number 2, Nikola Vucevic. This season, the Chicago Bulls were in win now mode, but they're not winning. Right now, the Chicago Bulls are 21-24, and maybe they make the play-in. Like, things are just not looking good. It's looking like they're about to tear everything down and start a rebuild. They might even trade Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan. But the reason that I'm talking about Vucevic first is because he's the one in my mind that makes the most sense to get rid of. Obviously, you want to get rid of LaVine, you want to get rid of DeRozan, but a team's gonna have to give you a lot for those players. Vucevic has been playing really good. He's on the last year of his deal, so I don't know if the Bulls are gonna re-sign him, so you might as well trade him. The team that I have Vucevic going to is the Brooklyn Nets for Nicholas Claxton, who's been playing really good, by the way. But I have Nicholas Claxton, Royce O'Neal, and draft picks. Number 3, Russell Westbrook. The Lakers are obviously dealing with a lot of injuries. They're 5 games below 500 right now, and they're just outside of the play-in. LeBron is pretty much averaging 30 points per game, and this could be the end of his last few good years. Obviously, they've been banged up. Anthony Davis has been out for a while. LeBron's been in and out of the lineup, but things are just not working. And there's been a lot of rumors that the Lakers might go out and trade Russell Westbrook, who has a massive contract. Westbrook's been playing great off the bench for the Lakers this year. He's averaging 16 points per game, 7 rebounds, and almost 8 assists per game. A lot of the time when teams are trading stars or, above average players like Westbrook, they're entering a rebuild. But I think the Lakers might trade Westbrook for some solid pieces to surround LeBron and AD with, because I think they want to go on a run in this season. I have a few possible trade packages for this Westbrook trade. The first one being the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers will most likely be selling, and I think that they might give up Miles Turner and Buddy Hield for Westbrook. I'm not sure if this would be for a straight up 1 for 2. There'd probably be some picks involved, but Miles Turner and Buddy Hield would help the Lakers out a lot. The second package, and this is kind of crazy, would be a trade with the Chicago Bulls to get Zach LaVine. Now, I don't know if that would work. LaVine, LeBron, and Anthony Davis all in the same starting lineup, but it's something the Lakers might consider, considering that the Bulls are looking to trade Zach LaVine. Number 4, D'Angelo Russell. The Timberwolves are currently the 7th seed in the West, and they've been playing actually pretty solid this year. The only problem with this team is that the Timberwolves need a pure ball handler. They need someone that's more of a passer, and anybody that watches basketball knows D'Angelo Russell loves to shoot the ball. He's not awful at it, but Timberwolves just kind of lack a passer. Now, I don't know if D'Angelo Russell is the right fit moving forward. Now, this trade's kind of a weird one because I had to pick D'Angelo Russell because I feel like that's the piece that they're going to move, but the reason that he's in this video is because the Timberwolves need a point guard, and if they're going to trade for a point guard, you might as well get rid of D'Lo. I'm not sure if they're going to. He's averaging 17 points per game right now with also 6 assists per game, which is not terrible. The trade that I have for the Timberwolves with D'Angelo Russell is with the Utah Jazz for veteran point guard Mike Conley. Also, they'd probably include some picks in this deal as well. Number 5, Gary Trent Jr. I believe the Toronto Raptors have already expressed that they're looking to trade Gary Trent Jr. along with some of their other stars. Even Pascal Siakam has been rumored to be traded. The Raptors have a pretty solid starting lineup, but they are 6 games below 500 right now, and they might miss the play-in. The trade deadline's coming up, and it's looking like they're gonna probably be entering a rebuild here. Now, the reason I have picked Gary Trent Jr. instead of someone like Pascal Siakam, well, first, if you're trading Pascal Siakam, you're probably gonna need a lot back, and I just don't know which team right now would be willing to give up that much for a player like Siakam. Whereas Gary Trent Jr., although his contract is pretty high, I think it's like around $18 million per year, they could probably get some solid pieces, maybe some picks back to help a rebuild, and Trent Jr. could go help a team that's trying to win this year. If you guys have not been keeping up with Gary Trent Jr., he's averaging almost 19 points per game this year. He's a player that I think a lot of teams would like to have, but the trades that I have for Gary Trent Jr., trade number 1, I have him going to the Miami Heat, who I feel like they're looking for that that fifth starter. They have a pretty solid team going. They're pretty deep, but they're looking for that last player for their closing lineup. I have the Heat giving up Duncan Robinson and picks. My second trade idea would be with the Cleveland Cavaliers for Cedi Osman, Isaac Okoro, and picks. Number 6, Mason Plumlee. Mason Plumlee's on the Charlotte Hornets, and they are in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes right now. I mean, they are one of the worst teams in the league. They are clearly going to miss the playoffs. And Mason Plumlee used to be a meme, but he has actually turned himself into a solid center this year. The only problem for the Hornets is that this is Mason Plumlee's last year on his contract. So that fact alone makes me believe that Plumlee is going to get traded. There's a lot of teams that need centers right now, and Plumlee can definitely help somebody out, whether he's a starting center for a team, you know, going for it all, trying to win the championship, or if he's just coming off the bench. Plumlee could definitely help. He's basically averaging a double-double right now with 12 points per game and 10 rebounds per game. I also don't see Plumlee as a long-term piece for the Charlotte Hornets. I have a few trades for Mason Plumlee, the first one being with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I did see some rumors of Nicholas Claxton being traded for Plumlee, but my personal trade is with Royce O'Neal and draft picks. Trade number 2, staying in New York, we have the New York Knicks with a trade for Cam Reddish and or Obi Toppin with draft picks included. You guys might be wondering why New York Knicks, no one's really mentioned that. Mitchell Robinson just went down. He's going to be out for at least 3 weeks. So I don't know. I could see Plumlee going to the Knicks. They need a center right now. It's just something I thought of. Number 7, John Collins. John Collins is an above average player, but the Atlanta Hawks right now with their new lineup with DeJounte Murray, they just don't know how to utilize John Collins, and it's clear that they're trying to trade him, as they've already expressed that. John Collins is one of my favorite picks to be moved before the trade deadline. He can help a lot of different teams, and it just makes sense. I mean, the Hawks are not using him correctly, so you might as well go trading for picks or trading for another solid player that you might be able to utilize correctly in your offense. John Collins just doesn't work with the Atlanta Hawks. I have a bunch of different possible trades for John Collins. The first one is with the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma. The Hawks could use Kyle Kuzma. He'll give the Hawks some more spacing, whereas John Collins doesn't really provide that. And who knows, John Collins might be a better fit on the Washington Wizards. I mean, he probably is, because the Hawks, that might be the worst fit for John Collins right now. The Wizards are also a team looking to make trades. I don't know if it'll be for John Collins, but Kyle Kuzma is someone we might see getting traded. Trade number 2 is with the Brooklyn Nets. This is for Joe Harris and draft picks. I don't think the Nets necessarily want to trade Joe Harris, but the contracts kind of match up. Trade number 3 is with the Dallas Mavericks. So John Collins will be playing with Luka. This would be the Mavericks giving up Christian Wood, Reggie Bullock, and draft picks. Number 8, Bojan Bogdanovic. If you guys are unaware, Bojan Bogdanovic is on the Detroit Pistons. That is probably the worst team in the league, and he's averaging 22 points per game right now. He can provide the scoring that a lot of teams are looking for right now. He does still have 2 more years in his deal after this season, but I think a lot of teams will still trade for him. They'll take on his contract if it's the right fit. Trade number 1, I have the Los Angeles Lakers, where they'd be giving up Patrick Beverley and draft picks. The Lakers desperately need shooting, and they also need some more scorers. Trade number 2 would be with the New Orleans Pelicans, where they would be giving up Larry Nance Jr. and draft picks. Number 9, Kyle Kuzma. We already talked about the Wizards before when we were talking about Rui Hachimura. The Wizards are 7 games below 500, and they are looking like they're about to start a rebuild. They're about to tear everything apart and start a rebuild from, well, maybe not scratch. Maybe they'll keep Porzingis, or maybe they'll keep Beal. They also, I think they're looking to trade Beal, but I just don't know if anyone's going to be able to take that on. But Kyle Kuzma could help a lot of teams. He's averaging 22 points per game right now with 8 rebounds per game. He can definitely help somebody out, and that is probably not going to be the Wizards, as they're probably going to miss the play-in. Kuzma's contract is running out this year. He does have a player option for next year. He's probably not going to accept that, though, so the Wizards might as well get rid of him. The possible trade that I have for Kyle Kuzma is with the Miami Heat. This would be for Duncan Robinson and picks. I think the Miami Heat are going to go out and trade for somebody, whether it's Gary Trent Jr., who I mentioned earlier, or whether it's Kyle Kuzma, or maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's Bojan. I think the Miami Heat are desperately looking for that 5th starter in their closing lineup, and Kyle Kuzma would fit right in. Number 10, Zach LaVine. Now, if Zach LaVine got traded, this would easily be the craziest trade of the entire season. This would be the craziest blockbuster at the deadline, because LaVine is guaranteed $166 million right now through 2026. So this wouldn't just be a trade where, you know, their contract's ending, you know, you can see what you can get for a guy. This is like a full-on contract, and if a team's gonna take him on, they're gonna have to give up a lot. The Chicago Bulls are obviously looking to move Zach LaVine. They're 3 games below 500, and it's just not looking like they're going anywhere this this year. Now, the truth is, we don't really know where Zach LaVine could end up. We're about 2 weeks away from the deadline, and there's a bunch of teams that he could end up going to. The first possible trade I have for Zach LaVine is with the Dallas Mavericks for Spencer Dinwiddie and draft picks. I don't think the Mavericks are necessarily looking to get rid of Dinwiddie, but for Zach LaVine, I think they would consider it. Trade 2 is with the New York Knicks, who would give up Cam Reddish, who I think is going to get traded at this deadline, Derrick Rose going back to Chicago, Evan Fournier, who the Knicks just don't use, and draft picks. This trade makes a lot of sense for the Knicks. They are basically a piece away from being a contender, which could be Zach LaVine. Maybe that was a little crazy, but the Knicks are playing really good right now, and they could use Zach LaVine. Trade number 3 would be with the Los Angeles Lakers for Russell Westbrook and draft picks. We mentioned this one earlier in the video. And trade number 4, I'm not really sure who they would give up, but if Zach LaVine went to the Denver Nuggets, I think he would be a great fit. Bonus number 11, Jakob Poeltl. Now, originally I was only going to do 10 players in this video, but I had to include Poeltl because the Spurs are not good right now. And this trade right here that I'm about to talk about just makes so much sense. Poeltl's a solid center. He's nothing crazy, but he's a solid center that a lot of teams can use, and he's on his last season of his contract, his $9 million contract. I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, and I don't know if you guys knew that, but the Warriors are lacking a big man right now. They have a Looney who's solid, but like, they need more. Possible trade that I have for Jakob Poeltl is with the Golden State Warriors for James Wiseman and draft picks. Sub up, I'm on the road to 15K, and drop a like if you guys like videos like these. The video's not over, but I just didn't mention it in the intro, so I figured I'll mention it now. Those are the 11 players that I'm most confident in getting traded before the February 9th NBA trade deadline. But there's a bunch of other players that have been getting rumored that they're gonna get traded before the deadline. I'm gonna name these players, and in the comment section below, I want you to write out, where do you think each of these players are going to go, or do you think these players are not going to get traded? Personally, I'm not that confident in these guys getting traded because a lot of teams would have to give up a lot for these players. But player number 1 is DeAndre Ayton. The Suns, they're not doing too good. It's looking like Ayton might get traded before the deadline. Player number 2, I mentioned him earlier, Bradley Beal. The Wizards they're trading a lot of players, right? They're trading Kuzma, they're trading Rui Hachimura, they're trading a lot of people right now. Bradley Beal, he's been getting rumored to get traded for years now, but will they do it? I don't think so. I don't think a team is willing to give up that much for Bradley Beal, who is a massive contract. The next player from the Toronto Raptors, Fred VanVleet. It seems like anybody on the Toronto Raptors except for Scotty Barnes right now is up for trade. So if you are interested in those players, you know, if any NBA GMs are watching this video, contact the Raptors because Fred VanVleet might get traded, OG Anunoby might get traded, Trent Jr. might get traded, and the other player that I want to mention, Pascal Siakam. So we got Ayton, we got Beal, we got Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and the last player is DeMar DeRozan. Teams are going to have to give up a lot for these players. Will they do it? We're going to have to find out. This was 10 NBA players that will be traded.